Okay, today I have something a little different. Now this console I got maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I was using it for parts because one of the controller port 1, the down doesn't respond. So years ago, I thought like everybody else, and I figured you just reflow the controller connector, the controller port, and it should fix it. Well, I did that years ago and it didn't solve the problem. So I've been using this for parts. In fact, I forgot I even owned this thing until I saw it at the bottom of my parts bin. So let me take a look at it now. So I got everything hooked up. Hit the start. See, I think I even replaced the LED. I thought this console was working when I was doing whatever I was doing with it years ago. Then I got to the game and one of the button responses didn't work. So I'm not getting an image. Everything is connected properly. So I've already taken the screws out. In fact, I don't have screws for this. Like, this was just strictly parts. I have to find some screws to be able to close this up. But as of right now, if I could just get the board working, I'll be happy. So yeah, let me unplug everything else. Okay, so here's the board. Now I didn't get an image on the TV, and even though there was a problem with the controller port or not having an unresponsive control, I should still get an image. And now I noticed that years ago I pulled up this crystal to use it on something else, and I never replaced it. Well, it was just a parts board. So let me go find a board that I have so I could use it to replace this crystal. Okay, so I went to my buddy over at the video game shop. He had a couple of boards here. These were for parts. Now he's already peeled some components off. Like, this is missing. The power button's missing. This one has a missing what's that? Power port. But it does have this. Now all I need is a crystal. Now I noticed this board has like an IC, like a standard chip looking crystal, and this one has like your typical crystal, the one with like a metal housing. And I think the one I pulled off this board had a crystal that was like this. I'm sure they're interchangeable, but in this case I'm gonna take this crystal and put it here. Okay, for the crystal, let me reflow it. I'm going to try to pull it apart with a desoldering braid. I'm not going to use my desoldering pump. Reflow it. See if I can get it with this. Okay, that side up, that's just an empty through-hole. Kind of wish I didn't take the crystal off this board, off the other board. Now I gotta do more work. It's falling out. The crystal's falling out. Okay, it fell out. Okay, let's put it into circuit. I think there's a polarity here, because there's a dot on the crystal, and on the silk screen there's a small little dot there, and it says pin 1. I don't know if that's pin 1 or what's the deal with that. That might be pertaining to something else, but I do see a dot So I'm gonna try to get this right. Now, so I'll turn it over. Now I need to use my dexterity. I'm holding it from the underside to make sure it's seated properly. Did I just burn the board? What is that mark on the board? Oh no. Okay. So now let's solder it for real. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I guess I could clean that a little bit. Okay. Let's test it. Okay, the clock is in there. Let's put a game. Okay, this is better. I'm getting a license screen. Okay, it is working. Now let me connect the controller. Okay, I'm back at it with another terrible angle. I just want to show you something. So all the other buttons on this controller work. Just pause, the right, the left, even up. You can see his face is pointing upward when I press up. The only one that doesn't work is down. No matter how hard I press it, and all the controllers are the same. I could try a different controller, down won't work. No matter what. So let's figure out why. Okay, so what we're working on is we're looking at the controller port. Now there's no bent pins, no broken pins, and what I could do is, what I would do first is test continuity from each individual pin here all the way to the other side of the board where they're socketed in, like from these points here. Now I've already reflowed this years ago and everything seems to be okay, but you could test continuity from this to this, wherever. So in this case, controller port 1 is the problematic one. So we're gonna go for each individual pin and retrace them back. So I know that, like, I can give an example. Put my multimeter into continuity. With my multimeter and continuity, I can go, like, for instance, this pin here corresponds to this pin, corresponds to this one, and you could go down the line, and the interest, and then this one corresponds to the top, and you could go down the line. Now I've already did that in the past, and then from that point you would go, like, let's say you want to test continuity for this top pin here. Let me zoom in. Okay, I know there's a light shining. Let me see if I can elevate this so the light doesn't glare so bad. It's gonna fall. But let's see if I can give an example. So once you go from the direct output or the input, you go to the next pin in line, you go to this, and then you test here, then you test here, and then you test here, because this is like, I don't know what these little plastic things are. I'm not sure what these are, if these are like ferrite rings or something like that. I'm not sure what these are, but I know each individual pin has one. So you go from that, where were we? Here, and then you go here, and then from here you follow this trace wherever it's going. In this case, I'm just doing this just to give an example. You follow it to wherever it leads. Let me see. I know my eyes are terrible, especially through a viewfinder. It's got to be one of these over here. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Come on, it's the last one I test. Okay, so then from that point, you go all the way back. They come out, like, for instance, wherever that was. I know for a fact, like this controller port here, they go through these things and then they come up over here in these vias. Now these vias correspond with each individual chip over here, each individual pin, so you can test continuity. And each one has continuity. And this is very, very small. I would actually suggest to probe the top of the pin. So yeah, they all have this side that actually goes to this, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Okay, I got this diagram here, and it looks like pin 2 on the front of the console, when you're looking at the port directly in front of the console, pertains to down. I don't know if you could see that. So I'll give an example. Pin 2 here, oh, it's dark. Okay, so pin number 2 here is the pin that pertains to down. So I can trace that back just to skip some time. I've already traced it back, and I'll give an example. I'll show you that in a second. Pin I traced like before I showed in the video. I went from pin 2, and I could actually test continuity all the way back to pin 4 on this IC. So I go to 1, I count 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's making a full contact to this chip. So there's no breaks in the circuitry. I tested from each individual point. I think there was another point here. Which one was it? Give me a second here. I know it came up on this side somewhere. It was here. So pin 2 comes to this via here. So let me zoom in. Okay, so from this via, I'll follow this trace all the way back to that pin. In fact, I could even test on top, just in case this was making a poor connection, but it's clean. So now what I'll also do, now I'm not going to be able to get this shot too well, but I'm going to try. Okay, so I know this is a tough shot to see, but I have my multimeter set to voltage, and let's turn on the console. So I turn on the console, and now, I'm sorry. So now if I start probing, I get 5 volts on all these data lines. I don't know if they're data lines or address lines or whatever they are. But every single one minus the pin that I need. So pin 4 is 4 volts or 4.9. I mean pin 4 has 0. That's the one in question. I know I could barely get in there. So pin this from the right to left, the first pin has 4.9, second pin 4.9, third pin 4.9. Here's the pin in question, fourth pin 0. So I think this IC is dead. So let's go to the fifth pin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4.9. So I think this pin here, this chip here, is faulty. Let me zoom in a little bit. Now you won't be able to see my multimeter, but I just want to show you how I'm testing this. Come on. So now you won't see my multimeter. You won't be able to see the reading. But yeah, I basically probe pin 1 from the top here. 1, then 2, 3, and this fourth pin is the one that goes all the way down to the controller port, and there's no voltage coming out of that pin. So I'm gonna swap this chip. Hopefully the parts board that my buddy gave me they have good main chips here, and let's see what happens. Okay, I never actually removed one of these chips before. Hopefully I can do it. Let me move this capacitor. Oh, this capacitor is gonna give me trouble. I hope it doesn't explode. I could tape that off. I don't know. Let me tape that capacitor off. I don't think it's gonna help prevent much, but it might help a little bit. Okay, I stacked a lot of Captain tape together. I'm just trying to isolate this, but this capacitor is not gonna give me, it's not gonna help me out. Hopefully that's good enough. In the Super Nintendo, we don't have components too close to the main chips like this. Alright. Come on. It was so hot. Now I let it go. God dang it. Okay, so here's the part board. Now this one already looks like somebody tried to rework it once. I don't know if there was corrosion or what was on this board, but it does look like somebody was messing with it. Hopefully it works. If not, I got another parts board. I'll try that. I'm using a lot of flux, but I really don't mind using flux. Really isn't bank breaking or anything. All right, let me see. I'm not gonna isolate this chip. I'm just gonna pull it up. I can't grip this. Jeez, I don't know if I bent something. Okay, let me clear up these pads. I don't know if the pin pitch on this chip is different than Super Nintendo's. It looks to be the same. So, I mean, I've resoldered in one chip before, so this looks pretty similar. Alright, that seems okay. That should do. Clean this up. Where's the Okay, that looks pretty clean actually. Ready to take a new chip. Turn it back to the right way. Pin 1 should be this little notch on the corner here. Let me use my pointer tool. This notch should be pin 1, and that should correspond with this little indentation here, and there's the 1. So we could lay it this way. Now I'm gonna line this up off camera so I can get it to line up really well, because on camera I can't really see through the viewfinder. It's close, but it's not perfect. Give me a second. Okay, so the chip is actually really beautifully aligned. I'm trying to adjust it just so you can see. Now this chip, I noticed, is different than the Super Nintendo chips because the legs that come out, they're really short. They don't spread off to the side as much to catch the pad, so you really have to line them up a little bit differently. And I'm gonna probably make a mess to try to get this pin to seat in place without manipulating it too much. This is gonna be tough. I'm gonna be really careful not to bump this. I just basically want the solder to touch it and not anything else. Even if I gotta make a big blob and drip it down. See, something like that? I know that's horrible, but that's what I gotta do. I really cannot touch it with my iron, and I cannot touch it with the solder spool. I gotta let it just dip down and touch. Yeah, I just have to do something like that. Okay, something like that. Okay. Alright, so now let me get some flux. Some no clean. Just put it there. Alright. I am gonna add some more, straighten out the spool, add some more solder to this. Okay. I can't get a good picture of that. Okay, clean that. Where's my... Okay, now let me double check this. It looks to be okay. The only problem I see is here. It's here. This spot here. One of the pins is bent. And then there's one here, one here. Let me zoom in. So when I drop this pin, when I drop this chip, one of these pins oops. Did I get it? I got the one in the middle. I got the one in the middle. I didn't get the one at the edge though. Yeah, I got the one in the middle. And it came back. Jeez. Sometimes not even worth it, I think. For a Sega Genesis Model 2? That's a pain. That one's giving me a lot of trouble. I think the pad just lifted. Dang it. Yep, a pad just went. I'm hoping that pad, see this pad here, just went. I'm hoping that pad didn't go anywhere. But with my luck, it was the most important thing ever. Okay, dang it. Ugh, I'm hoping that didn't go anywhere either. I'm making a mess here. Ugh. Oh boy. Okay, despite having a break on there, it's not really a break, the pad came undone, and I tested the continuity from the top end of the chip to the via on the bottom, the one that corresponds with that leg there, and there's continuity. So I don't think the pad is gone. That was a mistake on my part, but it's still making contact with the trace going down. Okay, let's try it out. Okay, it's working. Okay. Okay, so down works. Up works. Right, left. Oh, see, down is working now. Pause works. Jump. And I'm gonna test the second controller as well. But yeah, it seems like that one, I guess that's the CPU. But I don't know what this chip is. It must be the CPU, right? It's the main chip in the front. It's bad. So I replaced it. It seems to be working now. Okay, let me clean this a little better. The board is clean. Now let me show you that this is still making contact, or at least I can show you how to tell if it's making contact or not. Okay, so we're at the underside of this board, and I've already tested continuity. It was hard because I couldn't get that on camera no matter what. But I know for a fact this via here is the one that pertains to the missing pin. So temporarily, I'm gonna solder to that via. So I'm gonna just solder a piece of Kynar wire. That's not great. Come on, don't start now. Here we go. So as you can see, I got pieces. I don't want to lift the trace. Come on, solder to it. There's a lot of like mask that's holding it from being soldered. But yeah, it's in there. And I don't want to pull up the via. So now we go back over to the other side of the board. And this is just to show you that it's making contact. Let me cut it here. Now how am I going to strip this thin piece of Kynar wire? Okay, here we go. So now if I wanted to, I would have cut it longer, but I could have connected this to all the way over here. But I don't want to do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape that down just so it doesn't move. This is just to show you. This is the only way that I can really show you that it's making contact. Okay, so the little piece is up in the air now. Let me just tin it. Okay. I should have made that longer. Okay, it's gonna be hard to see. But with my multimeter in continuity, I'm gonna touch this side. Now this is the back of the, remember this part here is the bottom of the via, the bottom board via. And now I can touch the pin on the top. Like this is the pin that's not the one that's supposed to be. And then I could touch this side, and it's also not the one that's supposed to be. If I touch the middle, come on. Okay, wait. I know for a fact I'm good. There we go. So I touch it right down the middle. It works, even the top of the pin. Now if I touch this side, nothing. See where the traces are still in circuit? There's nothing, even the top. If I go from the nothing, nothing, and then immediately nothing, 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 there we go. I'm touching two at once. Like this side it works, this side it works, this side it doesn't. So yeah, this I'm touching two pins at once, but even still they're not short. The one that's actually making contact is the one that's broken. And the same thing for this one here. This pin lifted as well, but it is making contact. I can't really, because I'd have to flip the board, but let me try to see if I can give a good example. Now this is going to be tough. So from this trace I'm probing on one end, and I know, see I can't, I gotta hold the board steady, hold on. See if I can use this, that Brasso bottle. Okay, so I probe one side, and I know for a fact that that one goes, where does that one go? Goes to this one here. So this one here, this pin here, is the one that's on this side. The very first pin. So even though they look horrible, they are still making contact. So now let me get this off. Now if you, make sure I didn't bridge anything. No, good. So now if you did want to reconstitute that joint, this is probably the best way to do it. But just make the wire a little longer. But in this case I don't have to, because there's no break. Okay, one more time with the award-winning angle. Let me move some of this stuff. I know my workbench is a mess. I'm gonna clean this up and probably take a couple of days off after I'm done with this video actually. So yeah, I got the board. Everything is connected. Let me get the controller connected. There we go. I'll test the other port as well. But push this back. Put this back. Okay, so here's the game. Power it on. Fires up. Let's see if I can get into the shot. Okay. Okay, Sonic. You can see, move out of the way, tails. Okay, I hope you can see that. Moves his head, he moves up, down, to the right, to the left, up, jump, 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 pause, everything. Now, so now down is working. I can do the spin move. All right, let me test controller port 2. Let me see if I can get this out without it resetting on me. Okay, so now it should be moving tails. Okay, so now, yep, he goes down. Now the controller port 2 wasn't bad, but I'm just seeing if it works after all that. Jump, jump, jump. This controller's the C button's a little stiff. But yeah, everything is working. So that's that. A bad main chip can cause a bad controller port. Thanks for watching. Okay, before I shut this video down, I noticed that he gave me, the guy from Digital Press in Springfield, New Jersey, the video game store I go to, he gave me 2 parts boards. Now this one was more parted out. It was missing the power port, it was missing the power switch, It was I took the crystal from it. I took the CPU. What else was missing? That's about it. But it seems like this one isn't missing much. It's just missing the power port. Now neither one of these have a power port. So I'm actually curious what's wrong with this. Let me see if I can fix this just for fun. Let's see. Okay, so since I don't have a power port, I'm gonna try to rig up something here. Now I'm gonna take a, let's see, I'm gonna take a component leg. First I gotta find which pin is ground and which one is voltage. And by that, I just gotta find out really which one is ground and the opposite one is voltage. Oh, put my multimeter and continuity. Start probing around. See, these two are ground. This one, I'm not sure what that is. This is nothing. This is just to stabilize the power port. So I guess this is voltage. I can't find any. If this is ground and this is ground, this just stabilize it. That means this one's voltage. So let me get a component leg in there. That's really the only one I really need. I'm gonna get a component leg and try to solder. See, I got a component leg just balancing in here. I'm gonna bend it. Actually, do it like this. Like this. I'm gonna get the component leg out of here when I'm done. This is just so I can test. Where's the solder? Okay, so I got the component leg. I just gotta solder it into place. I know it's not great. It is in there though. As you can see, it is in there. Okay. Now we got a place that we can test. So here it is. You can barely see it. It's a little component leg sticking out of there. So for ground, we're gonna get ground here, and we're gonna get power right where we added our component leg. Now let me try to shorten these so it doesn't touch anything. Now this is really crude, but yeah, I don't know if I could even grip this that much. Yeah, it's very thin. Let me see if I can add some meat to this. Twist it. Twist it up. Let me see if I could get that in. So yeah, I just basically made a loop, and now I'm gonna add some solder to that. Make like a little blob. Yeah, make a little blob there. It's not pretty. It's just a test point. I'm sure I could have done this 1,000 different ways, but this is the one that's coming to mind right now. Okay. Okay, so now I can grip it. Now I gotta make sure that that doesn't fall and touch the ground. Okay, so I got it connected to my power supply. In fact, let me give it more volts. Let me see if I think this 7805 can take what? 27, almost 27 volts. I think I could press this. No, we're not gonna do that. So yeah, we're gonna set this to about 7 volts. 7 volts is more than enough. Crank this up. It can take as much as it needs as far as amps. And we'll start it. The light comes on. Splash screen comes up. This console's working. So I don't know why it was in a parts bin. I don't know why they took the power port out of there. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't take the chip off this one. This one seems to be good. I don't see corrosion. I don't see anything wrong with this. Let me connect the controller and see if it runs. Yeah, everything seems to be okay with this. Sound is good. So yeah, I'm gonna let them know. Just add a new power port here. This is a good board. So yeah, I tested all the controllers on both controller port 1 and 2, and this console has nothing wrong with it. I don't know why it was a parts board. All right, I'll let the store owner know.